I've said this before to Democrats. No, you did. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You did get your message out, and people don't like the message. The rubber meets the road, because this is important. He wanted to, this week, he's suing the 12-member commission, the California...
Across the political spectrum of some form of progressive communication that's either left them bewildered or a little like,
Comparing it to what Elon Musk is spewing out, unfortunately, on X, you sound like Brett Stevens right now.
Bill Maher just did something that no one in the Democratic Party wants to admit. He looked one of MSNBC's top hosts in the eye and told him the truth, straight up, no sugarcoating, no spin. And the reaction? Well, let's just say Chris Hayes wasn't ready for it. It all started with a simple but devastating reality check. For years, Democrats have been telling themselves that their biggest problem is messaging, that if they could just explain their ideas better, more people would support them. Maher wasn't buying it. He shut that argument down instantly. You did get your message out, he said. And people don't like it. That's the kind of brutal honesty you don't hear on MSNBC, CNN, or any of the traditional media outlets. But Maher wasn't just talking about political slogans or social media campaigns, he was making a deeper point. The policies that the progressive left keeps pushing are out of touch with real people, and instead of changing course, they just...
We're into Space Force time. He wanted the proposal to expand the number of launches.
I don't know about that. But I also think at the same time, there is a message of what I would call like common...
With all due respect, it's a joke. That's a real time...
And you sound like him, who looks like Rachel Maddow.
Double down and blame the voters for not understanding. Chris Hayes, clearly uncomfortable, scrambled to push back. He argued that Democrats have a responsibility to counteract the influence of powerful figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, claiming that both men were engaged in dangerous behavior that needed to be opposed at all costs. But as Hayes laid out his case, something became obvious: he wasn't addressing Maher's point at all. Maher wasn't asking whether Democrats should fight against Trump or Musk. He was asking something much bigger: are they fighting for the right things? Are they listening to voters, or are they pushing policies that most Americans simply don't want? That's when the conversation took a turn. One of the biggest examples of this disconnect is parental rights, a subject that has become one of the most divisive issues in modern politics. Hayes passionately argued that Democrats need to stand firm on protecting parents' decisions, especially when it comes to medical choices for transgender children. His message was clear: parents should have the final say. But Maher wasn't letting that slide. He pointed out something that most politicians and media figures refuse to acknowledge: in some cases, it's not the parents making these decisions at all. In places like California, laws allow schools to withhold certain medical and identity-related information from parents. And that's where things get messy. The average American parent isn't thinking about abstract political theory.
California Coastal Commission. He launches his rockets from Vandenberg Space Force Base. He used to call it Air Force Base, but I guess now...
...sense patriotic pluralism.
Yeah.
That is a majority message, which is like, if some father and mother...
To Mike Allen, who is like an established reporter in Washington. Axios has been around for like 5 years, sold for $500 million.
They're thinking about their own child. They're wondering, why should a school be able to keep secrets from me? They're asking, if I can't take my kid to get a tattoo without consent, why is this different? This is where the left keeps losing people. They don't understand that it's not just about supporting a cause, it's about how people feel when policies start affecting their families, their kids, and their communities. Maher didn't say this to attack trans rights, and he didn't say it to take a conservative stance. He said it because he understands how the real world works. He understands that if Democrats continue to ignore concerns like these, they will keep losing elections. Chris Hayes, to his credit, didn't lash out. He didn't dismiss Maher as a right-wing extremist. But it was clear that he was struggling to defend a position that, deep down, he probably knows isn't working. But the debate didn't stop there. Another major issue Maher exposed was the role of the media, and this one hit close to home for Hayes. Maher has been sounding the alarm for years about how traditional media outlets are failing. The big networks, CNN, MSNBC, even the New York Times, are no longer trusted by the average American.
Have health care for their kid lined up who's trans, just stay the fuck out of their business.
Okay, again, one of the most impressive companies, an American company. He wants a little more, give it to him. No.
Instead, people are turning to new media, podcasters, YouTubers, independent journalists, because they're tired of the same predictable narratives. Hayes tried to push back, saying that legacy media still plays an important role. But Maher wasn't buying it. He pointed out that networks like MSNBC are part of the problem, that they aren't just failing to connect with people, they're actively helping to push messages that voters don't want to hear. And he's right. For years, traditional media has sided with politicians instead of the public. They've worked harder to shape the narrative than to report the facts. They've decided which stories matter and which ones don't, often ignoring issues that affect everyday Americans because they don't fit the political agenda. This is why new media is taking over. People don't want polished, corporate-approved talking points anymore. They want authentic voices. They want truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And that's exactly why people like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and even Bill Maher himself have been pulling in massive audiences. It's not because they're pushing one side's agenda, it's because they talk about the things that actually matter to regular people. That was Maher's biggest point of the night. The Democratic Party has two options. Keep doing what they're doing, ignoring voter concerns, dismissing criticism, and hoping that the media can convince people to like unpopular policies. Wake up, start listening to the public, and focus on issues that people actually care about. Maher's frustration wasn't just about winning elections, it was about basic political survival. If Democrats continue down this path, they will keep losing voters, especially in the working class. And this isn't just speculation, it's already happening. Look at the massive shift in Hispanic and Black voters in recent years. These were once the strongest Democratic voting blocs, but now they're shifting toward Republicans in record numbers. Why? Because Democrats have spent more time focusing on culture wars and elite progressive policies than on the things that actually impact people's daily lives. Things like crime, the economy, border security, and the cost of living, issues that both parties used to compete over but that Democrats have recently started ignoring or downplaying. And Maher knows it. At the end of the day, Bill Maher isn't trying to destroy the Democratic Party, he's trying to save it from itself. He's giving them the harsh truth that no one else will say out loud: if you keep talking down to voters, if you keep ignoring the issues that actually matter, you will lose. Again and again and again. So the real question is, will they listen? Or will they keep blaming voters for their own failures? That's where this debate leaves us. Bill Maher sees the writing on the wall. Chris Hayes, and much of the media establishment, refuse to accept it. And as long as that remains the case, the Democratic Party is heading straight for disaster. What do you think? Is Maher right? Is the left completely out of touch, or is there still a way for them to turn things around? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to hear more about how political messaging is shifting, check out this next video, because what's happening now is only the beginning.